Don't we already have government schemes for that? I mean, for the village development. So why do we need Utthishta Bharatha?
There is a scheme in India called the Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, another scheme called Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana. You would not believe if I say that a person would get a 2 lakh rupee insurance at a premium of 12 rupees per annum. And this is what the Modi government is doing to India now. But yet we have a huge population which is not aware of things. Though there is a government that is willing to offer, I think this is where the civil society and people like us need to come in to fill in the gap between government and the beneficiaries. Earlier, the organizations had to struggle to find good schemes, but today there are many meaningful schemes. Only we need to enhance and work on our outreach and engagement.
Okay. And how about, how do you tackle the intervention of missionaries? If you go to the village, I think you're very much aware of how the missionaries work. So how do you tackle the intervention of missionaries?
Often the missionaries are targeting the lower strata of the population, people who are having economic difficulties, trying to give them some freebies. Usually what I have learned in my study and learned from people who are working in the sector is that they offer rice and all that, and that's why they are also labeled as rice bag converts. More than bringing in the faith element, it is actually attracting them with incentives, incentivizing their conversion for meeting targets for raising funds. This has become a model of business. Unfortunately, the sincere practicing and religious Christians of the West are offered a free seat in the heaven, and their funds are taken to harvest souls in the East and India. So here, instead of reaching out to the community and bettering lives of the people and people here in the US, the downtrodden here, these people, the rich and the practicing Christians who go to church regularly, they by these missionaries are told that there is an entire set of people out there which are non-Christians, and I think if we bring them to Christianity, if you invest your money in there, you would go to heaven. You would be dearer to Jesus. This is the narrative. And when they go there, they tell them you are a born sinner because you are a non-Christian and you are not in love with Jesus. So they induce this feeling of guilt in people, which I don't think is right. Either you need to be a rich and spending Christian, that is life as a celebration, or life as a sinner. Here, not to be a sinner, you have to become Christian. But we have seen that over a year or as time passes, those people who were earlier incentivized, when they are fully in grip of these missionaries, at one stage, they are convinced to give 10% of their income to the church. So what started as an incentive, later on becomes a tax. What started with guilt, continues to make them, you have to purchase the token to be free from guilt. So the guilt trip goes on that way.
And don't you think it also affects the village economy? I mean, we celebrate festivals. For example, now cow is just a mere, meat if you leave the culture. So cow-based entire economy is gone.
Yeah, cow-based economy, temple-based economy, and the festival-based economy is gone. For example, what happens with intervention of this? I want to tell it from very neutral standpoint of view as an observer. What happens is, when people get disconnected from their Sanatan way of life and they convert, say, or they get baptized, they stop celebrating our festivals. They stop going on the pilgrimages that they would have done otherwise. They stop their Shodasha Samskaras, that is the Sanatan way of living. What happens with this is, our economy is affected. The economy which has been designed to run in a way for the past several millenniums, that loses its pattern, I have to say. For example, an average Hindu celebrates a festival every 9 days and a major festival every month. For example, if I say Deepavali or Diwali, to celebrate Diwali, we go to the potter to get the diyas, we go to the teli, ganchas, we get the oil from them, we get cotton wigs from someone, we get sweets from someone, we get clothes from someone, the weavers. So there are several such things. We decorate our house, we go to the flower vendor, we get several, leaves, mango leaves and all that. So this way, this economy essentially to celebrate one festival involves intervention of over 20 communities. What happens is when people go to other faiths, they end up celebrating one or two festivals and with little intervention from outside. So when this economy sees, say, a pilferage of 10% of the people not celebrating, the economy is affected. What these 10% need to remember is that they are also part of the larger economy and they would also be affected. So this chain economy, like I said, for festivals, for pilgrimages, for the Shodasha Samskaras, that's why we say it's a way of life. And how we would face them is, one is the identity crisis. Two, maybe lack of inclusion in parts of the country where certain communities may be alienated or they may not be in mainstream. Having access to our temples and spiritual centers. So here when we work, we also want to bring in social harmony by increasing inclusion and that union in the community. We want to bring people together. This was there in our culture long back. We have instances of Adi Shankaracharya touching the feet of the Chandal and giving the Manisha Panchakam. This is land which has seen heights of such spirituality and Advaita. But over years we have lost that message. We have lost our core principles and we are stuck in many domestic walls of caste and creed. We can work towards, with help of modern perspective or re-strengthening and reinforcing our Advaita principles. We can also work towards elimination and removal of such domestic barriers. And I think once we instill pride in them, that is identity, to remove identity crisis, then bring in enterprise to give them financial stability, most of the problem is solved and they will not fall a prey to missionaries.
Okay, so I also want you to touch base upon the urban flooding. Now we have villages with resources which are empty. People are just moving to the cities and cities are not able to accommodate so many people. So how do you bring a balance to it? I mean, is Utthishta Bharat going to address, some way affect this too?
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask if, are you just going to teach them to survive or empower them, the village youth whom you're going to choose?
Now, our intention is one, to help them build confidence in themselves and give them the skills, required skills, basic transactional skills. And second is, after their activity and outreach in the village, do possible handholding towards establishing rural-based enterprises. Like we have the Khadi Village Industries Commission, and we have the Nehru Yuva Kendra Sangathan, we have the National Institute of Rural Development, the State Institute of Rural Development. We will engage with them as needed, as needed in that particular village, in youth empowerment or in creating enterprise. We have Mudra loans from the government and several other schemes. These are popular among the many others. First is we want to do man making. We want to help build themselves, get that mental strength first, and then towards financial stability. So what happens, the prime intention is, we want villages which are self-sufficient, also flourishing. And we don't want youth to migrate towards cities. That is not just to deglamorize cities, but to save the inherent glamour of the villages.